Tonight, thousands still in the dark after a historic snowfall slams parts of Ontario. The Big Dig, the state of emergency.
The snow up here has been pretty bad.
There's no other way.
And the race to clear it all before there is more. New revelations in the attempted murder arrest of 2 Canadian suspects in California.
It's rare for people to come from a foreign country to commit a crime.
Also, the likely cause behind a house explosion caught on camera. Plus, delivering on deals. How the postal strike is impacting Cyber Monday.
Some frustrated customers, some things are not going as smoothly as they usually do.
And a digital snapshot of Canadian viewing habits.
That the beef itself, just totally catapulted my channel.
Including how one YouTuber capitalized on a famous feud.
Can you just open his mouth? Say Drake, I hate you like I'm young.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening, everyone. Parts of Ontario are bracing for even more snow tonight after a punishing and massive pre-winter blast. Almost 1.5 meters of snow fell in the town of Gravenhurst over the weekend, the most significant early snowfall on record, knocking out power to tens of thousands. A state of emergency remains in effect. CTV's Heather Wright on the major impact and the harrowing stories of survival.
Closed highways, snapped power lines, buried towns. A winter wallop residents of Ontario cottage country are still digging out from.
We didn't have winter before. It felt like spring weather, and then we got a huge dumping, and everybody's not prepared for it.
Roughly 1 meter of snow fell on parts of southern Ontario over the weekend, closing a 100-kilometer section of Highway 11 north of Toronto for nearly 2 days. Hundreds of drivers were stranded, including Marv Sauter, who was hauling 18 horses and cows when he got stuck for nearly 36 hours.
We had some hay come in, so that was a relief. They had been fed before, so it wasn't too worried. The last couple hours there was getting worried about the water and stuff, but we had some of the community brought some water in, so they were fine.
Snowplows hard at work this morning, clearing the highway to get it reopened. The town of Gravenhurst in Ontario's Muskoka region declared a state of emergency, urging people to avoid driving and walking. And while this part of Ontario is no stranger to big snowfalls, this much so quickly has stretched resources throughout the region.
This is by no means normal. This is the most snow I've ever seen. I've been up here for 26, 27 years now.
The storm also hit parts of the United States. 60 centimeters fell in Buffalo, where fans were asked to come clear Highmark Stadium ahead of the Bills 49ers game. And the snow is expected to keep falling, with the system moving from Saskatchewan and Manitoba on Tuesday into northern Ontario through Quebec and into Atlantic Canada, where as much as 30 centimeters could fall at the end of the week.
And while many are still digging out, the snow is a welcome sign for businesses, especially ski resorts, hoping for a snowy start to the season after a very green Christmas last year. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
A painstaking search for the remains of 2 murdered Indigenous women at a Winnipeg area landfill started this morning. CTV's Kathy Lee on the moment families fought hard to witness.
Usually a place of discarded items, this landfill now holds the hopes of many. A desperate quest is underway.
It's a humanitarian mission to bring home the remains of Mercedes Myron and Morgan Harris.
Their remains believed to be here. Nearly 2 years after the women were murdered, a team of 45 search in earnest.
Family and community members, students with relevant experience to seasoned and skilled anthropologists and archaeologists.
Using rakes and their hands, they sift through mountains of waste in this facility.
We are talking about human beings here who deserve dignity and respect, even in death.
Jeremy Skibitsky was sentenced to life for the first-degree murders of Myron, Harris, Rebecca Contois, and an unidentified woman known as Buffalo Woman. Only Contois' remains have been found. The deaths of these Indigenous women, a grim reminder of the many others murdered and whose remains have not been located. including Joey English, killed in 2016. Her remains believed to be in a Calgary landfill, but were never found.
There's a different level of searching based on gender, race, maybe sexual orientation, and that is problematic. It should be a standard procedure nationally so that all of us have a fair opportunity.
For now, the opportunity to find Myron and Harris offers hope for their families and the community that justice and closure are possible.
No matter what lies ahead, we can say that we tried and we made the effort for these families, which is very significant.
Premier Canoe says the province is preparing for the excavation to continue all of next year and potentially into 2026. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
New revelations tonight about the 2 Canadian men in custody accused of a botched murder in California. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson on the obsession police believe was part of the motive, and a warning, some of these details are disturbing.
Okay, Devin Vanderhoff and Darius White, both are in custody.
During a Monday afternoon court appearance, 2 men, one from BC, one from Ontario, pleaded not guilty to multiple charges in a vicious and bizarre attack.
For somebody to have flown from Canada down to this part of California to commit this type of heinous act is definitely unheard of.
Once Darius White, who lives near Barrie, Ontario, and Devin Vanderhoff of North Vancouver landed in Monterey County, police claim Vanderhoff began stalking his victim, a woman he's known for years through online gaming. Police say he had become obsessed with her and allegedly showed up at her house at 10 at night.
Mr. Vanderhoff posed as a delivery driver. He was carrying a box and knocked on the door to this residence. The door was opened by our victim's boyfriend. And when the door was open, Mr. Vanderhoff forced his way in and immediately began stabbing the victim's boyfriend.
Investigators say the woman grabbed a sharp piece of metal and tried to defend her partner, stabbing Vanderhoff. He allegedly then stabbed and strangled her. Multiple 911 calls quickly brought police. Vanderhoff is facing charges that include stalking and attempted murder. White, arrested hours later after boarding a plane, his alleged co-conspirator.
It's pretty strange. I think the community was, let's just say, shocked. I don't think people really know what to really think about this. You really have to be careful what you do online. You just never know who you're talking to.
More than one person I spoke with in California said it's just lucky nobody here was killed. One likened it to the plot of a made-for-TV movie. Vanderhoff and White are back in court next Tuesday. Omar.
All right, Andrew, thank you. U.S. President Joe Biden is facing continuing backlash from Democrats and Republicans for an about-face on the unconditional pardon for his son Hunter. First Lady Jill Biden offering support today while the president brushed off questions as he started a 3-day visit to Angola. The pardon covers his son's felony convictions on firearms and tax evasion charges, where he faced potential prison time at sentencing this month. Biden says his son was singled out for political purposes, while President-elect Trump called it a miscarriage of justice. Trump also pardoned a member of his family by marriage during his first term, daughter Ivanka's father-in-law, Charles Kushner, who is now Trump's nominee for U.S. ambassador to France. Canada today pledged more action on border security with the goal of getting Donald Trump to back off his threat of imposing tariffs. CTV's Colton Prail joins us, and Colton, Canada also delivered a warning of its own.
Omar, after a 3-hour Mar-a-Lago dinner where the Prime Minister and Public Safety Minister pitched Canada's border plan to Donald Trump, Ottawa still has no assurances that it can avoid the massive 25% tariffs Trump has promised. Instead, the focus shifts to increasing border security as quickly as possible. Canada's Public Safety Minister is promising helicopters, drones, and more personnel to improve border security. But as Canada races against the inauguration clock, timelines for the new additions, costs, and even specifics on what type of technology will be acquired and how it will help all still have yet to be determined.
I think it would be normal that we would talk publicly and show Canadians the work we're doing before the end of January, before January 20th. But the most important thing for us is to ensure that the work is well done and worry about the announcement and the show once we've bolted down the final pieces that work.
The minister says it's too early to say if the tariffs that Trump plans to enact on day one of his presidency are unavoidable, but says he's working on building relations with the incoming U.S. Commerce Secretary to get a better idea. Tonight, Canada's ambassador to the United States confirmed plans are underway for retaliatory tariffs if they're necessary. Omar.
All right, Colton, thank you. Ontario is launching a major ad campaign in the U.S. to convince Americans of the crucial trading relationship with Canada.
For generations, this ally to the north has been by your side.
The new ads, which are expected to run during NFL football games and at Washington airports during the holidays, highlight that the province is the #1 export destination for 17 states. Ontario has not released the cost of the campaign. And as the threat of tariffs looms, Donald Trump issued another today on social media. He warned there would be, quote, all hell to pay if hostages aren't released before he takes office on January 20th. Tonight, Israel's military revealed the fate of 2 young Israeli-American hostages in Gaza. 21-year-old soldier Omer Nutra was killed in the Hamas terror attack on October 7th. This Hamas propaganda video appears to show another American hostage, Idan Alexander, still alive. While in Gaza, food charity World Central Kitchen has paused its operations after an Israeli airstrike killed aid workers. And in Syria, for the first time in nearly 5 years, a surprise attack launched by rebels trying to topple the regime of Bashar al-Assad. The regime and its Russian allies retaliated, firing hundreds of airstrikes into the Syrian cities of Aleppo and Idlib, forcing thousands to flee their homes. Ottawa has listed Ansarallah to Canada's terror list. The group, better known as the Houthis, is based in Yemen and has been involved in the recent unrest in the Middle East.
The terrorist acts perpetrated by Ansarallah in the Red Sea threaten civilian lives and global supply chains.
Ansarallah has launched attacks on civilian and naval vessels, working closely with Iran's Revolutionary Guard and Hezbollah, 2 other groups also on the list. The designation means anyone who knowingly deals with them could face criminal charges. A new review of a signature pandemic initiative is being criticized by Canada's Auditor General, who says the loan program for small businesses handed out more than $3 billion to recipients who were not eligible. CTV's Michael Couture on the findings and the reaction.
EDC did not properly manage their contracts.
Canada's Auditor General underlined a number of issues with the Canada Emergency Business Account, better known as CEBA. The loan program handed out $49 billion and helped keep 900,000 small businesses afloat. However, it was managed by Crown Corporation Export Development Canada, which then farmed out the work on a single-source contract to global IT firm Accenture. And the AG says that led to a lack of oversight.
And when you have an accountability void, there's people who aren't keeping eyes on the dollars anymore. There is bad management decisions that go unchallenged, and ultimately no spending limit put on a big program.
Hogan also noted there were billions of dollars given to companies that weren't eligible, something the Conservatives blame on the Prime Minister.
His government gave out $3.5 billion of so-called CEBA loans to companies that did not qualify, a total of 77,000 of them.
The Auditor General is concerned by EDC's statement that recouping money would be challenging and come with a significant cost.
EDC first needs to identify if these businesses are really ineligible and then decide whether or not recovery is going to happen. If the government doesn't want to recover, I expect that they're just going to be clear and transparent with Canadians.
Also, as of March of this year, $8.5 billion in loans were outstanding. Some of those are in the process of being paid back, but for the others, the government says there is a process.
The Canada Revenue Agency will jump in only at the end when the businesses are not capable of reimbursing or were not eligible. And we are using the same process as we use for any other tax debt.
But that process won't kick in for a while. CEBA loans must be paid back by the end of 2026. Omar.
Mike, thank you. Coming up.
They're probably going to tighten their belts somewhat.
How Canadian shopping habits are diverging from global trends this Cyber Monday. We are learning tonight Canada Post workers and their employer may be closer to resuming stalled talks as the labor dispute drags on through the holiday season. CTV's Adrian Gobriel finds out if the strike was a deal breaker this Cyber Monday.
For retailers online, it's the most wonderful time of the year.
I shop online too much, probably.
Globally, Salesforce estimates that Cyber Monday purchases this week will climb to $51 billion, up from just over $48 billion last year, though the software company believes that in Canada, the total tally may actually decrease year over year.
If you were to take what they spent in 2023 and you added inflation to it, they're probably going to have tightened their belts somewhat.
Retail experts say multiple facts could contribute to softer Cyber Week sales across the country, including consumer concerns about the ongoing Canada Post strike.
In fact, I'm expecting a package, and I'm bummed that I won't get it in time.
Close to 95% of the population lives within areas that are well served by the couriers of the world, like UPS and FedEx.
If you're in a remote area in Canada, this postal strike could have an impact on you getting your gifts sent to you.
Absolutely.
Some larger retailers have added disclaimers to their websites today as they try and set reasonable expectations for shipping this holiday season, with Canadian Tire writing that a smaller portion of orders destined for very remote P.O. boxes may not be deliverable at all. The labor stoppage is also hurting small businesses who've built their margins around Canada Post's competitive shipping costs.
And now they need to charge more to cover the cost for shipping that they could have otherwise absorbed with Canada Post.
We found one alternative, the holiday rush of shopping at the mall.
I do not purchase online that much. My children do, but I don't. I do not.
Kick it old school.
I love the old school.
For those of you who are making a purchase online, you'll want to keep a close eye on where your item is being shipped from. The U.S. Postal Service announcing today that it's putting a temporary hold on all mail being sent north of the border due to the Canada Post labor stoppage. Omar.
All right, Adrian, thank you. Still ahead, a frightening explosion. What caused this early morning blast in northern Alberta? Dozens of fans, including children, have been killed in a stampede at a soccer match in the Western African country of Guinea. At least 56 people lost their lives after clashes broke out over a disputed penalty call and turned into a deadly crush. Footage shows people trying to escape, many trying to scale a high fence. Here at home, an RCMP officer in Leduc, Alberta is accused of sexual assault after an investigation that began nearly 2 years ago. Constable Bridget Morla has been charged with 2 counts of sexual assault. Police say the incident happened at an Airdrie hotel room while a group of people were socializing. Morla will appear in court next week. And about an hour east of Edmonton, Mounties who respond to emergencies had one of their own this morning at the office.
This is an old building with multi-roof layers, so it has been a bit of a struggle to contain the fire in the ceiling.
When fire crews arrived at this RCMP detachment, they found the front of the building on fire. Fortunately, no one was inside. An investigation now underway to determine the cause. And a gas leak is the likely cause of a violent explosion in Swan Hills, Alberta, about 2 hours north of Edmonton. A massive blast early this morning ripped through this house and damaged surrounding homes and vehicles. This neighbor came out running in the freezing cold. One woman living nearly 10 houses down says the shockwave from the explosion reached all the way to her home.
It's just a shock for everybody. You're not expecting that. We thought that either something hit our house. Honestly, we thought maybe it was a meteor.
Fortunately, no injuries, and police say there is no risk to the public. And in Montreal, a Good Samaritan saved a neighbor's holiday after helping police pinch porch pirates that pilfered his presents.
There was a citizen who saw the packages coming off my porch and called 911 as he was following them from a distance and described them to the police.
Adam Ryder wasn't home but learned about the theft in real time from posts on social media. Then he got a call from police.
Some of your packages were stolen. Just wanted to let you know some good news that we found the people, we've arrested them, and we have your stuff. And I was like, what? I couldn't believe it.
As you can see, Ryder was thrilled to get the gifts back. Cyber safety experts say people should protect their packages this holiday season, suggesting cameras as well as lock boxes. And still ahead.
The beef itself, like, just totally catapulted my channel into a whole other stratosphere.
Channeling the digital trends that had Canadians hooked this year. Well, this is the time of year when many start to reflect on the year that's been, including a popular social media company that's unveiled the digital direction Canadians took this year and which ones made money doing it. Here's CTV's Garrett Barry.
The definitive diss track, Not Like Us, came in at number 4 on YouTube's top songs streamed in Canada.
Hey Drake, I hear you like I'm young.
Kendrick Lamar's iconic call-out of Drake capped off the biggest beef of the year, and one of the biggest winners, Canadian YouTuber Matt Smith.
There's no doubt that the beef itself, like, just totally catapulted my channel into a whole other stratosphere I couldn't have expected.
His YouTube channel called What's the Dirt features in-depth breakdowns of Drake's and Kendrick's lines. It caught the attention of some of hip-hop's biggest influencers and commentators, and now Smith, his girlfriend, and his brother are all working full-time on the YouTube page.
Everything I do is posted on Twitter and Reddit, like, and it got to the point where a lot of people I looked up to in the business, whether it be rappers, whoever, were reaching out to me personally, or like big producers in the game.
Other top YouTube searches this year for pop sensation Sabrina Carpenter and information on the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. But just like Matt Smith, YouTubers aren't just searching, they're creating too, especially in the younger generations. A May survey spearheaded by Google showed that 65% of Gen Zers consider themselves to be content creators.
We saw a lot of fun creator content of people, my submission to try my hand at joining the Canadian diving team and fun content like that.
And 8% of Gen Zers in that survey said they wanted to make content professionally for pay, making it one of the most attractive professions around.
I think what appeals to people is just like the freedom of it, right? They feel like, and like, you're right, any kid I talk to, bro, every single kid, they all want to do YouTube.
It's a tough task, but Smith has made it so far. His advice, if you're going to try it, treat it professionally, with a plan and a good work ethic. Garrett Barry, CTV News.
And that's a snapshot of this Monday. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night, and see you tomorrow.
CTV National News, Canada's #1 newscast.